William Barr, I'm so glad you've been able to join us. I've been looking forward to this. You have a tough choice now, and I know it's not one you'd have chosen, but it's the only one America has. Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Well, to me, it's not a close question. Obviously, I didn't support Trump for the nomination, but now that we have this choice, I think clearly that Trump would be a better president for the United States.
And yet you were very scathing of Donald Trump. You quit at the end of your time with him as Attorney General. He's had convictions and all this kind of stuff, the language, the abuse, and he hasn't stopped on that. I think it's hurting his campaign. What makes you think he's still better than Kamala Harris?
Well, I think, his policies are clearly better for the United States, his economic policies, his national defense policies. And I think, although they like to say he's a threat to democracy, actually, I think that the left, the collectivist left, is the greater threat to democracy. Their attempt to rule through non-democratic institutions such as the court system, and when the courts can't be manipulated the way they have in the past, then through administrative agencies. Their agenda is fundamentally totalitarian in the sense that it tries to control what people think and say. Democracy involves more than voting. It involves deliberation and speech and free exchange of ideas. And they have suppressed that. I don't think we've ever had the kind of suppression of speech as we've had recently in the United States, and that's authored by the left.
And as you detail in your memoirs too, the kind of attacks that Donald Trump was subjected to, and is still being, these prosecutions against him, I think just, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, William Barr, and you're the lawyer, you're the former Attorney General under two presidents, et cetera, et cetera. But some of these prosecutions seem to me to speak almost like conspiracy theory territory, politically motivated prosecutions of Donald Trump. Is that how you see it?
Yes, I think the abuse of the criminal justice process has been underway for a while in the United States. I think it was instigated by the left, and they use it as a political tool. It's not enough to disagree with your adversary. They have to be labeled and established as a criminal. And, as I say, this has been building for decades, but it's part of the anything goes tactics of the left. Anything goes to win power. And politics of personal destruction emanated from the left, and the abuse of the criminal justice process has been one of their primary tools. Now, unfortunately, that necessarily leads to a reaction, and there are people on the right that essentially view themselves as the mirror image and adopt many of the same tactics of the left. But I think the source of the problem is on the left.
Well, exactly right. We've seen one extreme is galvanizing another extreme and shrinking the middle. You've had little to do with Kamala Harris, it seems to me. I note in your memoirs you say she even refused to meet you when you were being considered for Attorney General. You were going around to Democrats saying, this is what I am. What kind of president would she be from your understanding of her?
Well, I would say there was, it's funny, a lot of the traditional liberals and progressives on the Hill met with me when I was up for confirmation. We had very good exchanges, and we had a working relationship going forward. She was part of sort of this little group of lefty loons that, just absolutely refused to even talk. What kind of president she would be? I think one of my main concerns is I don't think she's a clear thinker. My father used to say, if you can't speak clearly, you're not thinking clearly. And she doesn't speak clearly because I don't think she thinks clearly. And I think that, she doesn't have any strong principles other than sort of the far left agenda that is essential to have if you're going to get the nomination for president from the Democratic Party. So I'm concerned about her embrace of the green agenda, the heavy regulation of our economy, which is strangling the growth and opportunity from our economy and killing jobs in the United States. the kinds of jobs we need more of. I think she doesn't have much experience in foreign policy, and from what I've seen, it's sort of she's ineffective in councils, foreign policy councils. And I think right now the West is moving into the most dangerous period we have since the 1930s. In fact, in many ways more dangerous because we have multiple challenges coming from different sources. And it concerns me that this is the person who will be the leader of the free world. She doesn't have the background. She's gotten everything, from what I can tell, she's gotten everything in life, and her position is not due to accomplishment or competence, but to other factors.
Yes, particularly males picking her for certain jobs. You mentioned someone who doesn't speak clearly isn't thinking clearly, and I wonder whether, I'm absolutely sure this is the reason why she hasn't given a single interview yet as presidential candidate to a journalist, not one media conference, nothing. But she has on the stump made clear that her big two issues are, one, Donald Trump is a crook and a terrible man and a thug, etc., etc. And two, she wants to defend abortion rights after the Supreme Court overturned the Roe v. Wade rule legalising abortion. She said, the court said this was for the people to decide, not 9 judges. The Democrats obviously think this should be 9 judges alone of all the Americans to decide this. You actually said years ago that Roe v. Wade abortion ban was bad law. Why is that? But doesn't overturning it actually help Harris win the election?
Well, it's bad law because I think the original conception of the Constitution was to leave these kinds of issues to states and to have power diffuse throughout the country, not centralize all decisions and trying to govern what is now a 350 million person republic as some kind of unitary mass organization, but to break it up and have a federal system which was supposed to be let the steam out of the system. It was supposed to allow people to make the rules that they live by in their communities, build a sense of community. You can have diversity. You know, conservatives are actually for diversity, real diversity. People can make different decisions and lead their lives in different ways, and we tolerate that. The left is not for diversity. They're for one size fits all, one rule made for society. And so the Supreme Court was right that the original conception was this not be made centrally by the federal government, these kinds of decisions. And I think that that's better for society over the long run. Now, moving from where we were, where you had this absolute bar on any kind of regulation of abortion, which was not accepted by the people. The American people didn't agree with that position. But to move away from it obviously creates a lot of opportunity for demagoguing the issue, which is what the left is doing. It really should not be an issue in the federal presidential election because the federal government should be out of the question.
Well, in fact, I don't see any policy attached to Harris's rhetoric on that. I don't see, and we will do this as a consequence. Just finally, Governor Walz, you would have had something to do with him during the Black Lives Matter riots because you were taking a part in trying to, bring perpetrators to justice, try to stop the rioting. What do you make of this man?
Well, it speaks volumes about where the Democratic Party is that they pick this individual over other leaders like Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, or Kelly of Arizona, which actually would have complicated life a lot for the Republicans. So in one sense, it's a lost opportunity for the Democrats. But I personally, it does not give me confidence that this is a man who's ready to be president of the United States, as I say, in this dangerous world. And I felt that while he ultimately, after a lot of cajoling and President Trump urging him to get the National Guard out, he eventually did it, and the National Guard did establish law and order again in Minnesota, but it took a long time for him to get there. So I think he is the furthest left of the choices that she had before her. I also think he has no experience in foreign policy, which concerns me.